This is Doug DeMuro, and today it is time for an annual tradition here on the Doug DeMuro YouTube channel, and that would be the annual Doug Awards, the awards that I give to the best or worst or whatever, all of the cars that I've reviewed this year. It's time to give out the annual end of year awards, so let's do it. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, which is my enthusiast car auction website for cool cars from the modern era with free listings. You can list your cool car for free and auction it on Cars and Bids. And we've had some great sales recently, including this wonderful Ford Bronco Wildtrak sold for just over $68,000. We've done great with new Broncos. This amazing Formula Mazda race car sold for just under $18,000. And this wonderful old school Mercedes G-Wagon brought just under $39,000. If you're looking to buy or sell a cool enthusiast car from the modern era, Cars and Bids is the place to do it with daily auctions and great selection. Check it out at carsandbids.com. Okay, so here's how this works. There are 8 awards that are given out every year on the Doug DeMuro YouTube channel, and I'm going to tell you the winner of each category and then also the runner-up, which is a very impressive feat in itself, even if you don't win, because I review a lot of cars. It's basically 2 or 3 per week for 52 weeks a year. It's like 120, 130 cars I review every year. So to be included in these awards is a very good thing, unless of course it's the worst car of the year award, and then it's a very bad thing. Let's go. And by the way, for each award, I'm going to put in the corner of the screen all of the previous year's winners as I kind of explain the award. And that way you'll be able to see what's won in the past and kind of give you an idea of what to expect from the award. So without any further ado, let's get to it. Starting with the Doug is the Type of Guy Award. As you know, a lot of the people in my YouTube comment section post things like Doug is the type of guy too, and they're usually about my rather quirky personality. So this award captures the car that kind of fits Doug the most. It's not necessarily the best car, it's not even necessarily the quirkiest car, but it's like the most car that Doug gets the most excited about. Doug is the Type of Guy Award. So the runner-up for this year's Doug is the Type of Guy Award, the number 2 car, is the Toyota Mega Cruiser. This was Toyota's like Hummer competitor. Absolutely ridiculous vehicle. I have wanted to check out one of these for my entire life, and I was thrilled that I finally did. A civilian model, left-hand drive, sort of the ultimate Mega Cruiser. Amazing video I filmed. I was so happy to be there and shoot a video with it, and also to sell that car on Cars and Bids. But the winner for the Doug is the Type of Guy Award, surprising nobody, the Aston Martin CYGNET. This was the Aston Martin that they made based on the Scion IQ, the tiny Toyota IQ. And it was a ridiculous vehicle even from its concept. Basically, Aston Martin had to increase their corporate fuel economy numbers, and so to balance out all the sports cars, they came out with a tiny little city hatchback with a Toyota powertrain, and it's truly the stupidest thing in the world. And I have never been so excited to film a video as I was with the Aston Martin CYGNET. And that is the clear winner for the Doug is the Type of Guy Award. Okay, next up on my award ceremony, the most expensive car of the year. This is the only really objective award here. It's basically the car that I reviewed that it costs the most money, or that's worth the most money in today's market. Obviously, I've reviewed a lot of expensive cars, as you can see the winners below. This year, the runner-up for most expensive car of the year was the Bugatti Chiron Super Sport. I think that's like $3.5 to $4 million. Unbelievably expensive car. But the winner was the Maserati MC12, which video just went up like last week or 2 weeks ago. Those are worth apparently like $4.5 million in today's market. An unbelievably valuable car, but it's worth it. It's an amazing car, incredibly cool, and only 50 apparently built. So that's a very, very special car, and it's very expensive. Okay, next up, bargain of the year. So these are the cars that are the best bargains. The cars that are like, oh my God, I can't believe it only costs that, and you get all that. Great deals, great bargains. There's a lot of bargain cars that I review since I do a lot more used cars now than I used to. So it was kind of hard to whittle this down to just 2 cars for bargain of the year, but I do have 2. Number 1, the runner-up, the Lotus Esprit V8. I think this car is a fantastic deal. It looks, feels, drives, performs like a true, incredible, exotic car, but it's not really priced like one. You can still get an Esprit V8 in the $50,000 to $80,000 range, which sounds like a lot, but a lot of Ferraris and Lamborghinis from that era are worth 3 or 4 times as much money. And this, because it's a Lotus, and there's maybe a perception of reliability issues, it just has never gotten there. But this car turns just as many heads as those, and it's just as fun to drive, and I think that car is kind of a bargain. But the winner for this year's Bargain of the Year, this is actually a pretty easy one in the end. It goes to the Terminator Ford Mustang Cobra. I reviewed this amazing Terminator Cobra Mistachrome convertible. It was an incredible car. I reviewed it and we sold it on Cars and Bids. I think in the end it sold for like $40,000, which is just a bargain considering 390 supercharged horsepower, this color, which is one of the all-time greats, and these Terminator Cobras are pretty rare. They only made them in 03 and 04, and then Ford retired the Cobra name, apparently forever. It's never come back. And I just think these cars are some of the coolest. The story behind the Terminator, where Ford had made a crappy Cobra, then they had to redeem themselves with an insane one, which they did. I love that story. I love the muscle feel of this car. It really is kind of the last like old school muscle car feeling vehicle I've driven. And they're just a bargain considering what they are. And I think a lot of Mustangs and Corvettes and Camaros over the years are pretty appropriately priced. You know, they make a lot of these and people say, I have this whatever special edition. And it's like, okay, that doesn't add anything. But I think the 03, 04 Terminator Cobras actually are special. And I think they deserve more money than they bring. And so that was my bargain of the year. And next up, our next category is biggest surprise of the year. Car that surprised us the most. And by us, I mean me. So this is a car that like I went to review and I was like, all right, this will be kind of fun, whatever. And then I showed up and actually drove it and was blown away by how much I liked it. The car that really surprised me the most. So number 2, the runner-up for biggest surprise of the year goes to the E28 BMW M5. This is the M5 that was built in 1988, sold in 1988 here in the United States, and I kind of figured it would drive like an old car and be sort of crappy and whatever. You know, 80s cars are just starting to feel a little saggy, a little rough around the edges. But I got this car, drove it, and I was blown away. I loved it. I loved how it steered, loved how it handled, loved how it accelerated. It felt like a fun, tossable, enjoyable, exciting car. It didn't feel like the old car that it actually was. And that was a great car, great fun, and a big surprise. But the actual winner for biggest surprise of the year, that honor goes to the Lincoln Town Car Terminator, which I only reviewed a couple of weeks ago. So this is a Lincoln Town Car that had a Terminator Mustang Cobra V8 swapped into it. So we got 2 Terminator V8s on this on the winners list. That car is a surprise for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a Lincoln Town Car. So you look at it and you think it's a Lincoln Town Car. So it's a big surprise that it's a Terminator Mustang Cobra engine. But also, it was just so much fun. A lot of engine swapped cars that I drive or that I'm around are kind of janky. You know, you can't get stuff connected right and stuff breaks and it's just not as good as it should be and blah, blah, blah. But this car had been really well done, and so it drove like a factory Terminator Lincoln Town Car would have driven. And I just thought it was so exciting and enjoyable. And it surprised me. Even though I knew going into it that it was a Lincoln Town Car with a Terminator V8, it surprised me how well it was done, and it surprised me how fun it was to drive. I just keep remembering putting my foot down and just laughing and laughing and laughing, thinking it was so cool. Amazing. We sold that car on Cars and Bids, by the way. It brought like $20,000, which to me is a bargain. That car is just so damn cool for the money. Okay, we're getting into the big categories here, the important big ones. The next one is worst car of the year. The worst car that I reviewed in 2022. I review bad cars occasionally. And I make no qualms about, I have no qualms about saying that's a terrible car, and there were some this year. The runner-up for the worst car of the year is the Mazda MX-3. 30, which is an electric crossover with a range of like 100 miles and a ridiculous price tag that was a horrible addition to the EV lineup this year, the EV competitive set. It is not a competitive vehicle. It is way too expensive, way too poor of a range, and even if it didn't, it has a ridiculous setup where there's 2 full-size doors and 2 little doors that you can't open from the inside, and it's just a bad car. Apparently Mazda had to build it for compliance purposes because in order to sell cars in California, you have to have an electric vehicle, but it's insane to me that Mazda didn't come up with a good electric vehicle like everybody else. Like, what? It's horrible. But it's not the worst car of the year. It's merely the runner-up. The worst car of the year that I reviewed this year, it actually wasn't even really all that close. It was the meter-made car. I reviewed a meter-made car this year. And it is truly awful. It has awful equipment. It has awful styling. It is put together in an awful manner. It drives awfully. The visibility is awful. The safety is terrifying. Everything about the meter-made car is truly horrible, and it easily deserves the title of worst car of the year. Okay, next one. This category is called video of the year. So this is not like the best car I reviewed, but like the most impactful and meaningful video. The video that did most for my YouTube channel, the video that gave me the most like meaning and pride and excitement. Just the one that people talk about. Runner-up for this year's video of the year is the Volkswagen ID Buzz, which is an electric van that Volkswagen is coming out with. Volkswagen invited me to come up and do a video tour of the van like I do, and it blew up. And I think it was really cool in part because, you know, my channel used to have a lot of trouble getting automakers to take it seriously. And it was very cool for the ID Buzz and a few other vehicles, but this is maybe the best example, where I was there like day one. Like Volkswagen had me come out on the day they were going to reveal the car. I was there. I did the video to coincide with their like announcement, and it was like amazing to be part of that as opposed to having been shut out from that for so long for the history of my channel. And then of course the views speak for themselves. People want to see this stuff. And to be honest, people want to see this stuff from their favorite YouTuber whose format they know and understand, rather than some corporate slick put together video from the automaker. And I think the automakers is finally starting to understand, hey, these YouTubers actually bring this stuff to a larger swath of the population. Now it's a little bit of a wild card. They might say things we don't like, but it hits people harder than just some overproduced video that an automaker might make. And I was thrilled to be a part of that, and especially for such an impactful and exciting car. But to me, the video of the year, the winner of this category, that would be the Lamborghini Miura that I reviewed earlier this year. That is a tremendously cool car. Now, I always say that I don't review vintage cars on this channel, and the views on that video kind of tell you why. It didn't really do all that well. It did fine, but not amazingly. But for me and for the channel, a car that special is really great. And it's like a 40-minute video. It's tremendously long, but there's not an enormous amount of Miura content, and I think it was also important for people to be able to see all that stuff. How often do you really get an up-close tour of the Miura and see stuff demonstrated, see how buttons work, see what they do, the headrests that can move? It's all very interesting. And even though I don't do vintage cars, that was a very special moment for me. It was a very special moment on the channel, and I think a lot of people, especially like serious viewers who want to see like in-depth stuff, really got a kick out of that. And that was a really cool video, a video of the year. Okay, down to the final 2 Doug Awards, the 2 most important, of course. The first is Quirkiest Car of the Year, which in most YouTube channels would not be one of the most important awards, but here we are all about quirky cars on the Doug DeMuro YouTube channel, and so Quirkiest Car of the Year is an important award. The runner-up is the Amazon Rivian delivery van, which was unbelievably quirky and weird and had all these purpose-built special things that you would expect from the Amazon Rivian delivery van. Everybody loved this video. I'm still getting tons of notes. It went up about 3 weeks ago. I'm still getting tons of notes from people thanking me for doing it and asking all these questions, and I think people really connected with that. And it's just quirky to see. Not only is it quirky to see a video on a delivery van, which is quirky in itself because it's so different from cars that we use every day, but especially like this purpose-built futuristic delivery van, I think people really got a kick out of. And that certainly is an easy runner-up for Quirkiest Car of the Year. But it is not the winner. The winner of Quirkiest Car of the Year, and to me again, this was not particularly difficult, the Smart CrossBlade. This is a smart car with no windshield, rear window, doors, side windows, roof of any kind. Absolutely ridiculous vehicle, and everything about it was insane and quirky and bizarre. I love the Smart CrossBlade. I loved making this video. I still go back and watch this video and laugh. And that is not only the quirkiest car of the year, but surely one of the very quirkiest cars ever in the history of time. But with that in mind, we must now get down to the final category, which is Car of the Year. Car of the Year is important. It is the best new car that I drove this year. There are in this category, 5 runners-up and then the eventual winner. So there's a little bit more to this category. This is an important category. You know, I review a lot of new cars. It's a big component of my channel. I have driven basically every new car. And so for a car to be the best new car that I drove in a certain year is pretty high praise. Obviously the magazines make these awards too, but I drive almost as many cars as they do. I've been in everything, and these are my thoughts for the Car of the Year. So, number 5 runner-up, the new BMW iX. Everybody hates how this car looks, but the truth is, it drives great, the interior is great, the powertrain tech situation is great. There's a lot of amazing things about this car. Yes, it is ugly, but the design is starting to grow on me in a weird way. It's almost like kind of head turning. You know, everybody complains that crossovers are dull and boring and they look the same. Well, here's one that's none of those things. And I think it's kind of cool and quirky and interesting, and it certainly is an awesome car to drive and to sit in. Next up, number 4 runner-up for Car of the Year, the new Porsche Cayman GT4 RS. I actually almost had this car on the list for biggest surprise of the year, which is funny because I knew it was going to be awesome. I shot a walk-around tour of this car in November of 21, and it was great, and it looked like it was going to be an amazing car. But when I actually got behind the wheel of it this year, I was astonished at how good it is. It is an incredibly good car, incredibly fun, tremendously exciting to drive, unbelievably thrilling, very, very, very special car. And as good as I thought it would be, it was that good or better. The only reason it's not higher on this Car of the Year list is because the focus is so narrow. It's only a very small set of really rich guys who can afford this thing, but it's a special, desirable car. Next up, number 3 runner-up for Car of the Year, the Toyota GR Corolla. Here's another one where, you know, you kind of thought it would be good. I was actually a little disappointed with it on paper. It didn't seem like it was going to be that amazing, just based on the specs and all that. But then I got behind the wheel and I drove it, and it's the opposite. It's incredible. I think it's funny because I drove this basically back to back with the new Civic Type R, and I think the thing that I really liked about this is it's just more focused. It's more buzzy, it's more like sports car-like. Some people are going to prefer the Civic Type R or the Golf R or the GTI because they're calmer and more rational, reasonable vehicles. But the GR Corolla is like ready to go and have fun, and it's focused, and it's rough suspension, and it steers incredibly precise, and you got to be capable and aware of all that stuff. But it is so cool, and it was a better hot hatchback than I expected, and it is my 3rd runner-up. Next up, my number 2 runner-up for Car of the Year, the new Hyundai IONIQ 5. I love this thing. And it's Hyundai's new electric crossover, if you don't know. And it's great in a lot of ways. First off, the design is really cool. A lot of people like this sort of 80s retro design that's more angled than curved, and that is neat. All the pixelated stuff, it's neat. They did a great job designing this car. Honestly, they took a pretty substantial risk with the design, and it worked. That doesn't always happen, but the Kia EV6 is the Kia version of this car, and it has a much more traditional design, and it is a nice looking car. But the IONIQ 5 went for it in a weird way, and it works, and it looks cool, and I think it's pretty awesome. On top of that, it's just a great vehicle. The technology is great, the interior space is great, everything about it is really fantastic, and I'm a really, really big fan and a big proponent of the IONIQ 5. I recommend them to a lot of people, and it's truly one of the greatest new cars I drove this year. It's also one of the best electric cars on the market. Okay, next up, the number 1 runner-up. So this is 2nd place for the Car of the Year. That honor goes to the Ford F-150 Lightning. Amazing truck. It's just great. I love everything about it. I love the performance. I love the technology. I love the range, the front trunk, the design and style. I love the fact that they created an electric truck without like making it weird and kind of in your face. I still see them around and you almost can't tell that it's a Lightning. They're great. Everything about it is great. The trim level walk is awesome, that you can buy a cheap one or a really expensive one, that you can buy a short range or a long range. It's a great truck. Yeah, towing is a problem, but that's true of all electric vehicles and trucks. It's no worse with the F-150 Lightning. And if you're looking, if this fits your lifestyle, and I think for a lot of truck buyers it does, then there's a lot to love about the Lightning. And I think it's a really, really desirable truck and one of the most desirable electric vehicles on the market today, except for my number one car of the year. The winner of this award goes to the Rivian R1S, which is Rivian's new all-electric SUV. Now, before I even get into why I love it so much, I do want to say, last year my car of the year winner was the Rivian R1T, the electric truck. And this year it's the R1S electric SUV. I didn't want that to happen, but when I was looking through all the cars I reviewed, I couldn't give this award to any other vehicle. It is simply amazing. The R1T is great, but the R1S does it all. It has a smaller footprint to make it more manageable around town. It has a third row of seats and a cargo area. And then it has all the other great benefits you get in the truck. Incredible off-road capability, incredible acceleration, incredible technology, decently luxurious interior. It looks good. Everything about the R1S is truly fantastic. I personally am a little anxious about the whole servicing, reliability, repair situation, but it's an awesome vehicle and it's truly one of the best. I think I said in the video that it's the very best all-around vehicle I've ever driven, and I still believe that months later. I can't think of anything else that's better. It can out-accelerate a true sports car. It can out-off-road a Raptor. It's got the interior quality of a nice luxury SUV. There's basically nothing bad about it. I love it, and I think that it easily deserves this victory, giving Rivian 2 years in a row of Car of the Year. But there you go. Those are my picks for the Doug of the Year awards. Feel free to debate them, to claim that I'm wrong, to tell me I should have picked this, that, whatever. But the truth is, this is the Doug Awards, not the You Awards, and so my awards, my choice. Bye-bye.